Alright, time to torture Purg again. The materials you're going to need to make a face cast will be Smooth-On's Alginate, plaster bandages, scissors to cut the plaster bandages, a mixing bucket with warm water, 2 empty mixing buckets, only one was shown here, a mixing cup, plaster, Vaseline, a wig cap, and Sarran wrap, but plastic bags will work too, but you'll need some tape to hold those in place. Also make sure you lay down a tarp wherever you are to catch falling alginate and plaster water. A disclaimer before we start, you're definitely not going to want to do this on yourself. Make sure you have 1 or 2 people helping you out to do this. You will not, I repeat, will not be able to do this on yourself. Don't be stupid, do the buddy system. Use the bags or Sarran wrap as a smock around your neck or to cover the bald cap so alginate doesn't get stuck into your ears and hair. I actually did a face cast party around 2 years ago for my Gimli costume. If you'd like to see a video of this makeup process, comment on this video. To protect the hairs on the face, I'm applying some Vaseline to the eyebrows, sideburns, face scruff, and with a brush to the eyelashes. This will work as a mold release and to avoid any hair sticking to the alginate. Pre-cut your plaster bandages before you start to speed up the process. I make a few long strips and shorter strips and cut them in the middle. You'll need relatively short strips for the nose and smaller areas of the face. Now start mixing your alginate. The mixture is 1 part alginate to 1 part water. I always forget how quickly alginate sets up and made 4 cups here. Don't do that. Make it max 2 cups. Alginate has a working time of 5 minutes. You're probably going to need to do 2 batches unless you work very quickly or have another person helping you. You can mix this up with your hands until you have a smooth texture. I start applying the mixture to the nose first, as this is the most critical part. Now some people might be wondering, where are the straws in his nose? Don't do the straw thing. There's a possibility that you could jam a straw up your subject's nose and do some serious damage. Just go slowly and be careful doing this part of the process. Constantly ask the person if they're feeling okay. Anything is getting into their nose, have a Q-tip nearby just in case some alginate creeps in there or the person might breathe in too deeply on accident. It's good to keep calm, shallow breathing during this step. Keep the nostril area clear as best as you can. You can fill in the nostrils later, after we pull the mold off the face. If there's any doubts on breathing, quickly remove the alginate. Don't risk it. My alginate started to goop up on me here, but that's alright. I just mixed up a second batch. The goopy parts won't hinder the end result as long as the base layer of alginate is under them. In fact, I found that the goopy parts will end up working like keys and resin molds to hold onto the plaster bandages while plaster is being poured in. Remember to constantly ask your face cast subject if they're doing alright. Have music or a podcast for them to listen to. We enjoyed the latest episode of Star Talk during this casting session. The alginate should set up within 5 to 8 minutes. It will be cold and slightly damp to the touch, but not sticky. Alginate tends to suck out all of the moisture in the air and of your face, so if you're the one experiencing the face casting, you might notice something that feels like you're sweating, but that's just the alginate drying. Next, start to apply the plaster bandages. Submerge them fully into the bucket of water now, since you'll be using the rest of the water for plaster, and there won't be any cross-contamination at this point, so it's fine. Lay longer strips around the outer portions of the face, and smaller strips down the nose and around the eyes. I do 2 to 3 strip layers. Once the bandages are dry, have the person lean their head forward as you assist from behind. Tell them to start wiggling and scrunching their face to separate it from the alginate layer. Gently start to pull the casting away from the face to release. Also make sure to warn them about the ungodly bright light they're about to experience. Whoops. Sorry, Berg. Before you start your plaster pour, plug up the nose holes with a little more alginate and a plaster bandage. Allow these to dry. You'll want to start pouring your plaster into your mold as soon as you can. Alginate starts to dry out after a little while and will start to shrink. For the plaster mixture, it's 2 parts plaster to 1 part water this time. And now you can mix up more than you'll need, since plaster takes about 15 minutes to start to set up. Pour it directly into the mold and make more mix if it doesn't reach the end of the alginate. Don't go past the alginate or you'll have spillage under the plaster bandages. Swirl the plaster around with either a spoon or your hand to release any air bubbles that could result in an indent in your final product. Plaster will take about 3 to 6 hours to fully set up, especially with something this thick. We allowed ours to dry overnight before pulling the casting off. Once dried, gently start to pry the outer layers away from the mold. Be careful not to damage it. If some thinner pieces of plaster around the edges crack away, that's fine, but if you filled your mold up enough, you should have a solid casting. If you end up with any bubbles or small imperfections in your cast, you can always sand them away with a fine grit sanding block. Stay tuned for the makeup look this face cast was made for, and don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe for the next one.